It is 6:30. So we shall respect the time and call the regular EDC meeting of Tuesday, March 9th, 2021 to order. And welcome everyone. And we'll first up are director comments. Begin with you, Joe.
No, nothing other than, we'll talk about some of the things
Okay.
on the agenda. So just
Got it.
go off that.
Okay. How about you, Michael?
I guess the only thing I got to add is I finalized the Jammin' on Jarbo schedule. I think we got a good lineup. The biggest acts are Beatles tribute band and the Eagles tribute band.
Cool. Excellent. You said we still have a slot open, or you filled that one?
No, I filled that one with some locals that play at Aspens and Okies.
Okay.
Pierce and Big Jordan together.
Why is Randy on a city council?
How many times will we have a band this year?
7, April through October. First Saturday, 7 to 10 p.m. And we're right on budget.
Excellent. Excellent. Your phone is propped up, so we just are seeing above your head, Michael, just FYI.
Well, that's because I don't want you to see me drinking. I'm officially on vacation. I'm leaving in the morning for California.
I don't know if we have a policy regarding Zoom meeting drinking.
He didn't say
Well,
what he
tell
was
us what you're
drinking.
really doing.
Yeah,
All right, here. Can you see me now?
I was on a Zoom meeting last night and someone was having a pedicure. They didn't want to fess up, so they had their video off. So as long as you're not getting a pedicure,
No.
good. Okay.
You hear about people going to Zoom meetings and not even wearing pants. I mean, come on.
I'm thankful that you are, Michael.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I'm fully clothed and drinking a glass of wine.
it. Okay, Johnny, moving on.
Yeah.
Hard to follow that.
That's right.
Yeah, I know.
Just a reminder, these are recorded and put out to the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I sent the snapshot out, the financial snapshot. We did over the EDC brought in over 26,000, so it was our best month since August, I think. But I think it lagged, so if I'm not mistaken, that may be the numbers from December that we're getting in February. Is that right? I believe.
Yes,
So that's
it
good. I spoke to Joel, one of the owners at Galveston Bay Brewing, the day before yesterday, or maybe it was yesterday. Y'all might have noticed they took down the school window paint and put up their own to kind of look like the school, advertising the brewery. But that was pretty cool. He said they finished demolition inside. Things are chugging along. They hope to submit plans to the city next month. It could even be as early as the end of this month for approval. So that's good. They contracted with SignEd, which owns that giant billboard that's in their front parking lot, and they're going to get one side of that sign when the timing works out to advertise the brewery. And as far as opening, they're still, the answer is as soon as possible, but they're going to aim for late summer into the fall, so somewhere in there whenever they can. And that's it for me.
Well, I tell you, just to not to beat it to death, but I think that's really just going to so energize that area. It's really, I think it's going to be a great addition.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Amanda, did you have anything?
I don't have anything tonight.
Gotcha. And
I got a question for Kurt. What will be our policy on Jammin' on Jarbo now that the governor has, effectively going to be releasing the mandates for COVID?
Eric, you want to answer that?
I think Brent's online. We rolled out a new update for the policy just today, but all that is opened up to the same thing as what the governor stated, except for our city hall. We ask that people still wear masks going in the city hall, but and practice proper social distancing and mask wearing where applicable. And but as far as jamming on Jarbo, is all the rentals for the city are opened up to 100%.
Yay.
Okay.
Good.
Brent, anything to add?
This is Brent, and I'd just like to add that also there's a caveat that we could scale back if need be. So just because it's open right now, things were to take a turn, we certainly scale back. But we're also practicing our additional protocols at our facilities, including 2 times a day wipe down, particularly at City Hall with doorknobs and public areas and touched surfaces that get touched a lot. So light switches, bathrooms, handrails, things of that nature.
Good deal. Thomas, you have anything?
Just 2 quick ones. Center Point, I am actually hopeful I'll have something for the next meeting. Let's see.
Okay.
She's told me we are weeks away, and no, it doesn't usually take this long, but she is, struggling and needing help. Other than that, Frontier, I can inform that there's been some crickets in the neighborhood talking about how terrible the service is. I experienced a little bit of the same, but they are very responsive, and we have attention all the way up to at least regional director level. So I would say things are moving in the right direction.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you.
Thomas, you're actually hooked up in?
I am, but okay, right now I'm on Xfinity because, I'm deploying it carefully out through the house. I got a lot of wires going.
Okay.
But yeah, so I had some outages the other day, and then they came the same day and did some work in the box, and so far, knock on wood, it's okay.
Do you know what kind of speed you're getting?
Yeah, I'm getting 940 what they advertise, up and down. But I'm only getting a latency of 10 milliseconds, and yeah, I know that sounds good, but I'm getting that with Comcast too, so there's no really, I would have expected the improvement to be more instantaneous, but I'm also testing it to Frontier's site in Dallas, not anything local, so that may be it.
Great. Okay, good stuff. Nice piece in the Islander. I didn't know you were from Norway. I thought you were from Alabama. I thought that was an Alabama accent.
Well, I was actually, believe it or not, I was actually born in New York. So. Yeah.
Oh, you are trying to fake us out. Okay, good stuff. Well, with that then, are there any unscheduled visitors who would like an opportunity to speak? Okay, I'll take that there are none. We'll move on to the consent agenda. And if everyone's had an opportunity to review the February 2021 financials, the February check register, and the minutes of our last meeting on February 9th. And if so, if I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
I'll make a
that
motion.
There we go.
I don't know who made, Thomas made the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Johnny seconds. So any further discussion or questions on that? There being none, all in favor, aye, and a show of hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? I couldn't quite see everybody at the same time. Nay. There being none, consent agenda is unanimously approved. We're going to push the, I believe because Susan has some other meetings at the moment, unless she's freed up. I see her on the, she's queued up here. Susan, unless you're ready to speak, we'll push you back and accommodate your schedule, but looks like we'll do that. So we'll move on. I'm sorry, I didn't. Anyway, we'll move on then to item number 6, discussion and possible action on the electrical and lighting quotes for the revised parking lot lighting design for the east parking lot. And I think, Brent, I may have failed to get those to Christie to go out in the package.
They are, Adri, if you can scroll down on the packet, please.
It didn't print out in mine.
I don't believe it's here either.
Okay. Now, they were sent over, but I don't know if you had a problem accumulating that.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Do you have that available to you? You want to pull it up and just walk us through it, or?
Yeah, I might be able to do that. Let me see if I can get to that on my computer first.
If not, I've got it and can send it to you.
I have it, and if Adri can let me drive, I guess. Might be
Yeah, you can start sharing now.
all righty. So can everyone see this GBS Electric?
No,
You
I
gotta,
don't see anything.
Hit the share button.
Let's see. Share screen.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
can you see that?
Yep.
All right. So this is based on the revised
Brent,
lighting.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but Ronnie Richards had just pinged me asking if the meeting had begun. He was having difficulty getting in. I don't see a admit someone in the waiting area button. So Mayor, do you have that?
No, there's nobody else trying to get in at
No
this
one's
moment.
trying.
He may be in here. Who's the phone number?
It,
281-797-1970.
Yeah, I believe that's Ronnie.
okay, maybe he got in then. Okay.
Okay, this is based on the revised design, eliminating the kind of the errant pole that was on the west side of the Galveston Bay Brewing Company building. With Don Milbauer's help, we were able to confirm that the photometric study would be fine, and so relocated those poles. So we have, I think you're all familiar with that design. I did not include that in here. That actually was sent out for these quotes and for the proposals on each. GDS Electric submitted a proposal. This one right here, things to look at. They've changed some rigid conduit to Schedule 40 PVC and also Schedule 80 PVC, and Type FS box to an aluminum bell box. And they did retain on this quote the stainless steel panels and meter cans, things that were specified in the original from the designer. So the other thing is that they've identified the poles and the lights furnished by the owner, and we plan to install some additional 120 volt receptacles at the top of these light poles in the event that someday we ever add a camera system or some type of surveillance. So trying to plan ahead on that. You can see this is their quote. The subject to change, so I'm guessing PVC probably shot up in the last few weeks based on market conditions. Also part of this includes us purchasing the actual materials, which would be the poles and the actual light heads and the standoffs. This one right here, I can flip it, we're going the long way around. This calls out the specified items that we identified as our design originally, and we saw that. This pricing is a little less than what we saw locally through their distributor. And the things that we would need are the 80 watt floods, which is right here, $1,099.20. The pole top arms for those, $329. And originally we spec'd out the square poles versus the round poles, so $1,480. They also showed the option for round poles, being consistent with our desire to save money and understanding our budgetary concerns. A round pole is a little less expensive than a square, but square, I think, is what we identified what we want. The net result would be no tax on this, obviously, and it's around $2,900. I think I did the fast math, $2,908 for the materials plus the cost of installation. The only other thing is they're in stock in Dallas and in their California warehouse, so there may be some additional freight. But there is a location. This location is actually in Deer Park. I just went past it this weekend.
So then, Brent, it looks like between the materials and the base bid, we're call it $27,000. Is that?
Yeah, I think 26.5 is kind of where I was, and 27 is an excellent ballpark. I was pleased seeing this come in. Let me get back down here and look at this next one. They also sent another proposal. Let's see. They have another proposal, but it has where they've changed the boxes from stainless steel to standard steel, which is the coated steel, gray steel that you see around. It's probably on nearly every house. So we have them here at City Hall and over in the clubhouse. They seem to stand up to the rigors of the climate, but originally our designers called out stainless steel. So if you go with this option, you could save a little bit of money. I didn't think the savings really warranted a step down, stay with higher quality stuff for longevity's sake.
And on the conduit substitution for the PVC instead of the rigid, is that something our electrical engineer can simply comment on and say good, bad, or indifferent? And
yeah, I haven't reached out to the electrical engineer beyond the last change with the photometrics and changing that plan, but I can certainly do that. Yeah. And then we also had a proposal from Lilly Electric, and they quoted, as you can see, everything coming on down. They're looking at $42,634.88. That is minus again the poles and the lights that we would supply.
so, have you done work with GBS previously?
Yes, I have. GBS we found to be very responsive. They actually, when we bid out our smoke detector system that is in City Hall, we didn't have that until last year. So they actually got the bid on that, and we were pleased with how that was implemented. And they've also done some work for us in regards to the Christmas tree. We've consistently had problems as we add more lights and weather concerns and things. So the Christmas tree was a problem, and they were able to work us in and work on that. We find their work very acceptable. I think Kevin would agree, and they are a approved contractor in the city. And then the final one that we got was from Weeks. I think we're all familiar with them. We actually use Weeks for our commercial refrigeration at the appliances over at the clubhouse, going down through theirs. They're at 44,000, 348.75. So, you know, almost a half price quote from GBS. They had some changes with, instead of the rigid form, we have EDC.
It always makes me a little nervous if I have my winning bidder at half the price of the other bidders. Can we also have our electrical engineer just confirm that we do have a full scope of work from GBS and we don't have any material omissions? Maybe it's just Weeks and Lily are both busy and GBS needs the work, but I'm just always nervous that I'm missing something that will eventually.
We found a similar discrepancy in the project price when we did our smoke detector project at City Hall. That they were lower, and I think it's probably based on labor cost, primarily, and carrying. So you have larger companies with more overhead versus a company less overhead.
Well, and I think this then for a price of, call it $27,000 again, we kind of accomplished what I think we had in mind at 50 plus. So that seems to be a win, and we certainly need the parking lot lighting yesterday. We have 3 competitive bids. I would make a motion that we approve moving forward with GBS services or electrical at a price at the proposed price, subject to confirmation of our electrical engineer on the options and the substitutions that they've proposed, and plus a contingency of $1,500 to allow Brent the latitude to deal with field conditions that may arise. So that's the proposal or the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that. Can
Okay.
we also discuss? Can we discuss?
Absolutely, yeah. So we have a second, so we open it up for discussion. So
Is 1,500 enough latitude to do that, or do you need to do a percentage, or I mean, do you want to make it not to exceed 30, or I mean?
that's probably a better number, yeah. Brent, your thoughts?
I think 30. If you want to just make it a flat 30, that's. Yeah. I'll do everything in my power to control cost. I'm pretty. I'm very much aware of financial situation and not trying to cut corners in the name of safety, but to long term.
I had a quick comment about the boxes. I wouldn't necessarily skimp, and I would lean toward the NEMA 4R stainless steel boxes.
That was the quote I would recommend.
We'll be glad that we did down the road.
Really?
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, any further discussion? And I guess I'll need to go back and amend the motion. Then we will amend the motion to move forward with GBS at a total cost not to exceed $30,000 with the stainless steel boxes, but the other proposed alternates to be confirmed by our electrical engineer, specifically the conduit substitutions.
I internally identified this proposal as A1 and the materials as A2. So just so I can keep track.
Okay, so
I'll
that would
second.
encompass GBS proposal 81 and the materials proposal A2. So do I have a second for that amended motion?
Yeah, I'll second that amendment.
Thomas. seconds that. I guess no further discussion. There being none, all in favor, aye, with a show of hands.
All right.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Appears to be unanimous. So motion passes and we may get some lighting here finally.
Hey,
Yeah, I think we'll all wonder how we've lived without that so long when it
think
finally
you're
gets up. Yeah.
I'll thank you, and also remind you, one of the things I looked at were the digital costs. So we'll have a monthly increase, and I anticipate to be around $80 a month to the city for that. But it's well worth it, and I appreciate your support. We'll get working on it.
Right. Just as an aside, I don't know if anyone's ever listened to the podcast Strong Towns, but it's an interesting urban planning, city planning podcast. And they were just this past week talking about the fact that it's very, very difficult once you've provided free parking of any kind on street or anything else to ever take it back. So but I think we know that. Okay, great. Then Amanda, we'll move on to a discussion and possible action on EDC and marketing and promotion tactics. I know you, Adri, have been workshopping that, so you have the floor.
Great, thanks, Charles. Yeah, so I know we've been throwing around a lot of different things to do with marketing for EDC and helping to promote our businesses, and the budget situation being what it is. There's still some things I think that we can do from an organic or a very low cost standpoint. And so Adrienne and I met because she's going to have to help us with this in some regards, but just a couple ideas that we threw around. Obviously, social media is a free platform that we can use. She is going to start back up doing the Visit CLS videos. The video series, she had done that prior to COVID, and then because of COVID stopped, but that really focuses and highlights on our local businesses. So right there is some great free promotion.
That's wonderful, by the way, because that really has a lot of life to it.
It does. Yeah, it sure does. And those are things on social media that we can also put some very small dollars behind. And when I say small dollars, I'm talking about a couple hundreds of dollars to boost posts. And so then we get a further reach beyond those people that just follow the city's Facebook page. We can target and select different demographics or different areas that we want to reach these people, people that might live in those areas. So there's some things that we can do from a small monetary standpoint that I think will have a broader reach and potential engagement, and perhaps get people here to spend their money in Clear Lake Shores. I think
I'm sorry not to interrupt, but do you need any authorization for any of those dollars?
I don't think so. Really, I'm going to kind of throw around ideas, and then and when we have $2,000 budgeted per month, and that I don't even think is a lot. And so I think that right there will, if we decide to, if we see something that is worth a boost, we'll cover it. I think we need to come up with some sort of a tagline, for lack of a better word, that we use in some of these posts. And I know when you had started with the businesses that received the grant and we were promoting that, we're using #ShopCLS, which I actually really like. I think it's something that once we start using it in more places than just on social media elsewhere, it again is one of those things that gains some traction, and no cost there, but just something that ties to us and separates us from some of the other. I know Adri, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think there's a We Are CLS and there's another hashtag that she uses, but Shop CLS could be something, or Visit CLS, it could be something that's specific to the promotion that we do.
Yeah, I've tried to use those three. I don't #Visit CLS, #Shop CLS, and #We Are CLS.
Yeah.
Maybe we can add another more. I don't want to use so many because people are going to just forget and get confused, but maybe 3 or 4 might be fine.
Yeah. I think we need to, and I understand Kevin's working on pulling together a list of all the businesses in Clear Lake Shores, but I think updating our website a little bit more, the EDC page or a couple of pages on the city's website to include a list of businesses. We can share videos there. We can put a social media feed there as well. Again, no to low cost, but still helping to promote our businesses. And so people who, may come to visit the city's website to find out more information, whether they're moving here or maybe they want to, start their business here or something, then they have a list of other businesses. The big one I think that I would love to get y'all's feedback on is, what if we do a business of the month or a business of the quarter? I mean, we don't have that many businesses, so that's why it started off as a business of the month. And I thought, well, maybe it should be a business of the quarter. And we get a sign that goes in front of that business that says, we're the CLS EDC business of the quarter or whatever. And then Adri can do a video around that. We can do some promotion from a PR standpoint. A couple board members go and, present the sign, and it's a big photo op. I don't have any criteria around how to select it. I didn't want to put all that together. I wanted to get feedback first, but I think that could have a lot of legs and really resonate with our business owners. Thoughts?
I love that. Yeah. We may have to make it random selection, out of
Yeah, it could be good. So I know Seabrook does it, and I want to say the Texas City Lamarck Chamber does it. And so I was going to go and kind of see what their criteria are and how they, select. I don't know if people apply or if they just, do it randomly or something, but there has to be some criteria around it. But and I'm happy to develop that. I just wanted to get
well, I think people respond to specifics, and so it's good to just promote generally shop CLS, but I think what people will really respond to is a specific business, a specific story, and we've got to have a reason. I mean, you just have to start, and that seems like a great kind of framework for doing that.
Yeah, and there's other places that we can share that, in the Islander and, wherever else, local newspapers. I mean, that's easy, super easy content for them, to fill their pages with that isn't, something that we have to pay for. So cool. Yeah, I can put together some thoughts around how we might select those businesses every quarter and go from there. The other thing too,
Mike Pons.
Yep.
I was gonna let you know that Barry T-Bone Times, every month he posts.
I saw that.
Yeah, a best business neighbor or something along those lines. So it's just he's picking somebody and saying, they're a good business and a good neighbor.
Yep. The other thing, and again, this is going to be, not a whole lot of times, but maybe we start with the brewery and do some sort of ribbon cutting or something, when they come in, and I know we talked about doing it for Drawer Road as well, but again, just to, or maybe we collaborate with the chambers on that, because I know the chambers of commerce do that, and I have connections there, and I think Kurt and Brent also have connections at the two chambers that we're members of, and so just something to think about to help promote those businesses and share with the community that they're here now. I mean, I think everybody's going to see the brewery, but again, just another way to get the word out there.
No, I think
Hey, Amanda, what about are there local influencers that, I don't know, maybe they specialize in restaurants or something like that, that, could help promote the area, or maybe even starting our own vlog, and maybe it's interviewing, people's businesses that, and, you kind of do a 5-minute, 10-minute vlog on their business and, kind of behind the scenes kind of thing?
There's a couple locally that I-45 Now partners with, and then there's a couple other ones specific to restaurants that's Texas based. That might be a good idea as well.
Well, I think all of those collectively are great ideas, and the truth is we don't have to reach the world to be material, and anything is infinitely better than nothing. So I think those are all great strategies.
Okay, so my takeaway from this will be to work on coming up with some parameters around a business of the quarter, and I can present that for feedback and discussion. I can try to have that at our April meeting, but then we'll just plan to move forward with some of these other, tactics with these videos and, promoting. Have we done some sort of like FAQ, EDC FAQ or anything before? Like, this is what the EDC does, or this is who we are, this is why we exist, something like that.
Yeah, we started doing FAQs at the beginning of the year, but I would like to do something every month, but I don't know if EDC wants to do that monthly or maybe just also every 3 months or 4 months.
And that could be published in the Islander. That could be published, through social. Again, I don't think we are at a point where we're ready for our own social media page, and so I think we work off of our pages. We work off of the city and help to build that base for us, and then depending on where we are in a couple of years, that we may branch off. But that's just good, easy content to share there as well. And I'm sorry, I think I cut somebody off.
Do we know how we show up, like when someone goes on TripAdvisor and they're in the area and they're like, all right, what are the restaurants around here? Have you looked into any of that to see?
Yeah, I haven't done any searches there. Sometimes a lot of that's paid advertising, and sometimes it's not. I know I was, my other job, contacted by some of those, pay and we'll list you in our top 10 or whatever. I can look at it, Joe, and see how that works a little bit further, specifically for restaurants and businesses and municipalities.
Right. I know, like when I'm traveling, a lot of times I'll go to TripAdvisor and just go, all right, tell me the restaurants in the area, and and it's a great way to see, what's some mom and pop local diner doing, and
yeah,
you can patron them.
And I think we're going to start with our videos with recognizing those businesses who were able to get a grant from us as well, to continue some of that promotion that you had already started, Charles.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that we continue that realm, and then also I asked Adrian recently to put more of the ads back up again for everybody that participated in those grants.
Yeah. Again, easy promotion, doesn't cost, hardly anything, except a little bit of time from Adri. That's all I have.
Really good. Good stuff. Thank you very much, Amanda, and Adri, thank you. And kudos once again to the city for having Adri and making her available to us. So, so good stuff. Moving on to item number 8, which Joe has done some investigation and with regard to a pedestrian bridge over Jarbo. So we'll just, you have the floor, Joe.
Yeah, can we bring up those photos that I took today? Start with that.
Yes. Can you see it?
Is that, let's see here.
Oh, well, here.
Right, perfect. So let's start with the vision. So the idea is, imagine a really nice summer evening, Saturday, and you drive over in your golf cart and you stop at the clubhouse to park, and you come to this spot, and from this spot going towards our business area is a walkway, is a Balkan pier, dock style walkway, boardwalk, shall we say, a boardwalk. And it goes, and if you continue up the page here, the idea is that it would run alongside the path here, and then it would climb up and over it would have its own bridge, right? You'd walk up and over, and then as you got to the top, that would parallel the current driving bridge, continue down. right there. And then you would have maybe it would open up and there would be maybe some benches, built-in benches, so you could stop your stroll and you could just look out over the water and kind of just contemplate the area and watch the ducks and just enjoy. Continue down a little further. Go a little further. So that's kind of the view that you have right from the top of the bridge, looking out over the water. And then continue down. And then the bridge would come up and over and it would land somewhere in that area you see. And continue down. And then you'd continue your walk to the local businesses and patron, and then you would return back down through the boardwalk. And so it kind of becomes, you're not going to get run over by cars walking down the side of the road. And it's just, it becomes part of our community. So I met with Ed Berry about a month ago to discuss this and told him the idea. And I said, Ed, give me 2 quotes. Give me 1 quote if you built the boardwalk with a bridge and, an area where people could stop and converse and just enjoy themselves. And then also give me a quote if it was just a pedestrian walkway that would just be a bridge over this area right here. And then instead of having a boardwalk, it'd be a less expensive version where we would create a path along the grass that you saw in a few slides back. So you want to bring up the quote, please?
Yeah.
A great vision, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you. There we go. And if you'll work your way down, you can, we'll send this out to everybody and you can, look at all the details. I don't know, can you see I got to move my thing here, I guess. So if we wanted the boardwalk and the whole vision, along the coast there and then going up and having the nice bridge area, that would run $86,000 roughly. If you just wanted just the bridge to kind of parallel what we have and then create just a grass pathway or some kind of other pathway, if you look down here towards the bottom, it says $40,560, and that's what you're looking at. So those are for about 40,000 more, you could have a really nice boardwalk.
And Joe's, presumably that gets you up high enough that you're at least the existing bridge height, so the clearance for any boats. And then I'm sure, Kurt and Brent, that the question is, that would be within, is that GLO if we actually put a boardwalk in the water, and do we own the shoulder, if you will?
That's I was just on GCAD trying to look at that to see the map is skewed just a little bit, so it's difficult for me to really confirm that. But yeah, the landing spot on the 2094 side of the bridge would need to be confirmed to be city, number 1, and the design and anything like would certainly be under the purview of GLO.
Yeah, but I like the organic. I mean, I like the organic feel of it. I think in the past, and maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like we were talking something north of $500,000 plus. Now that
over $1 million.
How much?
Over $1 million.
Over
$1 million.
But that was not.
But it was a bigger bridge, yeah, because it had to meet federal standards, and it was on the east side of that. And we did have the right of way to build it there. That's why that was selected to build on the east side where those pictures show. So the city does have enough right of way at that point to do that. And we were going to do the other thing that's fairly inexpensive are these prefabricated bridges that they bring in. When you start putting posts out in the middle of that channel and stuff, that may be more complicated than just having a prefabricated bridge that has no supports out in the waterways. But that's something that, you know, Ed Berry might be able to help us with, or the GLO or somebody.
I believe Ed told me this would be ADA compliant. I believe that's what he told me.
It'd have to be, yeah.
Joe, you may want to give Alex Scanlon a call too, because I know he's looked at this previously.
Yeah, maybe Alex could even draw something up for us. I believe he has some CAD experience.
Well, I would say, you know, if we can do this for $100,000, it's well within reach, not in calendar year 2021, but 2022. And I think we undoubtedly, everybody who walks over the bridge or drives over when people are walking over the bridge recognizes the need for it. It's just always been such a daunting number, as Ronnie said. So it feels to me like it's something worth exploring a little more and seeing, you know, kind of flushing out what the critical issues may be relative to right-of-way or federal requirements, or just make sure we're not missing something. But I think if we wait around for the perfect solution, we'll never have a pedestrian bridge.
But this is for pedestrians only, right? No golf carts.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Where do you, so I was thinking that the next step would probably be to create kind of a vision, you know, what it would look like, what the structure would look like. Ed felt like he might know somebody that could draw something up. I don't have any expertise in drawing something up. I don't know if anybody else knows some people, or maybe they have that skill, but I think we need to create some kind of, you know, actual picture of what this thing would look like.
Yeah. I think we could connect with an architect. The only thing I just want to make sure that it's not a non-starter relative to right-of-way or federal requirements, because a nice rendering of it won't do us any good if we just if we can't do it.
So who has to take the lead on that, Charles?
Brent, maybe you and I can visit about kind of what the constraints may or may not be on that. And Ronnie, you have some history on that. Would love to get your notes and thoughts on that.
Right. The problem with the other bridge was we were going to use federal funds, so we had to have environmental impact studies, and it had to be 12 foot wide and meet all these requirements that were required, and that blew it out of the water as far as the cost.
Okay, so it may not be.
It'd be easier without federal requirements won't be involved.
Yeah, I'm just at a little bit of a loss because I don't know what I don't know, and
there will be some permitting that's required. An environmental study, I'm sure, will be required by GLO. So, you know, there are some kind of unknown costs, and based on kind of experience I've seen so far with GLO, it's depending on the size of the project and the potential for the impact, you can go from anywhere from $3,500 to, you know, a few $1,000s, double-digit thousands, maybe $10,000.
Well, maybe we can have a preliminary contact with the GLO to just kind of understand what their process and thoughts would be. I mean, we can certainly communicate what the scope or approximate scope of what we're proposing is, and just see what guidance they give us before we go to step 2. I mean, if we determine that it's possible that they would, you know, consider it, that it's not outrageously expensive, then we go to a concept drawing, I think, like you say, and then start thinking through some of the engineering issues.
Would that be the office out of LaPorte, the GLO? I think there's like an office out of LaPorte. Is that where we would have to go?
Yeah, if they have it open. They've been working from home most of this year, so everything's done by email and phone call.
Okay.
Well, in fact, Joe, if you want to take the lead with Brent on this and kind of flush it out with the GLO and see, if we get a green light or a flashing red. And then
Sure. Well, Brent, just why don't you give me a call later this week and maybe we can conference call somebody at the GLO and.
I have a conference call Zoom meeting with them on a project of this scope on the 23rd or the 24th of March. So if we can wait for the next meeting, that might be time to let
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, can we get this added to the agenda then?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And maybe we can create even just a Photoshop drawing that shows the pathway, so it's easy to reference that. Johnny, you have some crazy good Photoshop skills, don't you?
I have some Photoshop skills.
Yeah.
I want to say Alex might have some CAD experience.
I would touch base with Alex. He has showed a lot of interest in this in the past, and one of the concepts was to go over, hopping those little islands in the middle of Jarbo was another option. I don't know how much he had looked at it or not, but yeah, I would touch base with him. He may have already kind of played around with it some.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay,
I'm happy to help
that's a
wherever
good
I can.
idea. But I think the conversation with the GLO would be helpful if you just had a simple aerial showing, what the pathway is.
Sure, yeah, and that's something I'm happy to help with if you need to.
Excellent. Okay, no, anyone opposed to kind of exploring and seeing? No one's, everybody's good. Everybody's good with continuing with preliminary exploration. Good deal. Okay.
Hey, Mike
Excellent.
Bonds, I think it's a great idea.
Good deal. Okay, thank you very much, Joe, for taking the lead on that. Then we will, then we will move on to, and if Susie's available to go ahead and visit with us about the 5-year palm tree plan, item number 5.
I'm here. Thank you for pushing me back.
Oh, thank you for being, I suspect you're a little busy right now.
Just a touch.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was actually at a meeting with the International Arboriculture Society. It was all the old arborists talking about how what they'd seen from the freeze back in 1983 and what we can expect. So it was really valuable information. So.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes.
Well, it may be a very short discussion. Do we have any palms left?
Well, the mantra is wait and see. And they're saying the 4th of July, wait until the 4th of July to see if you have any new growth. And as far as the guys pruning the palm trees today, you can either pay them to prune them or you can pay them to prune them and come back and cut them down. So we might want to wait on any pruning to see if it's really a necessary expense at this point, because there's no point in pruning a dead tree. And without getting up there and, looking in the tops of them, which I hopefully they're doing, to see if the meristem pulls out, we're not really going to know.
All right. Brent, are we doing palm tree trimming?
Yeah, Susie, this is Brent.
Hi, Brent.
I talked with Toby after I talked with you, and I got another guy that called, was interested in palming. But yeah, they started, it was part of our annual maintenance program. So they've started with the pruning, and they are checking each individual palm that they pruned to see if it's dead. And if it's identified as dead, then they're going to come back and take it down. I did witness exactly what you were talking about when I took a guy around and he found a queen palm, and he got out and he said, let me check this. And he went over and grabbed the middle of it and started yanking on it. And I thought, you're going to pull that out. And he tugged on it and he got back in. He said, no, that queen palm is going to survive. It didn't pop. So they, right now they were working on it even up till the time we started this meeting at 6:30 outside my window. But we had 2 crews today worked around the island, and they're going to be across. They have one crew coming tomorrow that will work across the bridge and up front. So, and I did receive your, I guess your kind of your inspection, drive around on the palms, identifying them. So, thank you for giving me that.
Hey, Brent, do we, I mean, who's making the call? I mean, who's making the judgment on, yeah, this thing is dead, oh, it's going to survive? I mean, do we, I just was just kind of curious how that's determined.
July, when we're watching fireworks, over Kima Bridge, we'll have a better idea. But it's really right now, and Susie can correct me, please interject. But I think if it took a freeze and it was a long freeze, right now you would see that kind of damage with that center section, and I think it's like a 2-year process. So we may have something that grows a little green and not know it's really sick and going to snap in two or fall over or rot and start weeping, for up to 2 years. And so I don't understand all of the horticultural aspect of it, but I'm certainly getting educated on palms, and the difference between a palm and a real tree are very, very different. And so it's been quite an experience. But the tree trimmers with Earthworks that were out today, I actually watched them here I watched them on one other section, and I watched them right here in front of my office. And the other thing that I confirmed with them is that they are washing their tools. So I witnessed that. They had different.
Thank you. That was the next thing out of my mouth, going to be the next thing out of my mouth.
They had various chainsaws that they were using to bring down the fronds, but they would use one on a tree, drop it down, move over to the next tree, and use a different chainsaw while somebody scrubbed that one up. And
Wow, that's great.
But I was just curious, is the tree trimmer the one that's going, yeah, this is a dead one? Or,
yes.
Do they have the experience?
Really, once you get up there on the top of the tree, it's blatantly obvious if that tree's dead. I mean, it's just going to be mush, and it's going to smell bad, and it's going to look like there's no hope. But with those Mexican fans, I suspect that most of them are going to be okay. I mean, did they come back with Brent? Have they given you any report yet?
No, they haven't. No, I wouldn't anticipate them doing it while they're out here. They'll probably report back to their office. They maintain some notes and go back to the office, and Toby will let me know.
Okay.
But the other thing is that they're not spiking any trees.
Good.
I talked to Toby. He said if they identify one that's dead and when they go to take it down, they will spike it, but it'll be after it's identified as dead. Okay. So as they're doing the pruning, they're using ladders, and then they go to I don't know, it looks like a toe strap almost that they wrap around, and they use it. And they step into one, then they slide the next one up, and they climb a tree with these like foot straps. So
good.
Interesting.
That's a young man's career.
I responded with Mr. Shulsky earlier that watching them work on that is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
Does Susie have anything else to point out as far as the state of the
union? If there was a big blast of north wind coming down, the north side of those trees, just like the one in the front that snapped, those trees could be compromised, and as the tops of them come back and sprout and get heavier, those trees may start snapping. So we're going to have to monitor, like if those trees do come back, since they're so tall and in public spaces, I would suggest that they're monitored, at least once a year, even when your guys are up there pruning, if they can just, kind of press on the trunk and see if there's any soft spots, because those trees may fail in the next couple of years.
So
And
another,
that is a possibility.
it could actually grow back, but the structure of it is so weak that a good wind would.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Hmm.
Just like what happened with one in the front.
What about the ones in the front at this time? I mean, they look really gray.
Some of them look like, some of them look okay, and some of them, the center spike has fallen over, and I'm real concerned. And I'm curious to see what the guys that get up there and prune the trees have to say about those. They may make it. I mean, they may be fine, but once again, they may be compromised, and it's going to take, several years for them to green back out and look good.
So at this point, we're really just in a monitor and patiently await growth phase. So,
I mean, if you guys want to get really crazy, we could start spraying them with fungicide every 3 months to try to save them, or dumping fungicide down into the tops of the crowns and treating them with a granular fungicide around the base of the palms, to prevent some of that pink rot from coming in if they have been damaged. So there are things we can do, but it's going to require active management and treatment of every tree, and it may or may not be 100% effective. So
were you able to give Brent some pricing on what how much chemicals would be needed and whatnot?
I have not, because I have just found out about what the product recommendations are. So no, I have not.
Okay.
Susie, should we continue pruning them?
Yes and no. I mean, if they're alive, it's not going to hurt to take the dead off, but if they're dead, you're going to be paying to prune dead trees. So that's, and
they're attempting, we should be in that process identifying the dead trees, so we should.
Right. I mean, it's a tough call.
I don't know that we want a bunch of, if we don't trim the ones that stay up, we'll just have fronds flying everywhere, I would
Well,
assume.
that's true. And I mean, they look terrible. So, I mean, as long as they're not cutting off any of the healthy green fronds, because that's detrimental to the health of the palms. They're really only supposed to be taking the fronds that have snapped, and they're only supposed to take them at the point where they broke.
So, and maybe Brent, it sounds like Earthworks
But
certainly knows what they're.
they really do sound like they know what they're doing. I have full faith and confidence in them at this point.
There's another one, excuse me, there's another palm tree. I don't know the variety, but it's medium sized. It's here in front of City Hall, and it's
the sables, the Texas sable.
Big green, and
yeah,
it had very minimal trim on that.
All right, and that's one of the trees that I've recommended for the 5-year plan. A lot of them,
yeah.
Because they're fairly inexpensive. You can get your bang for your buck with those things.
Well, that's probably a good segue, unless anybody else has any questions for Susie. Okay. Why don't we bring up probably the proposal, the 5-year plan.
Planting plan.
Had some pricing. Susie, do you want to walk us kind of through
Sure.
what this, do you want the visual of the island first, or do you want?
No, this is fine. We'll start with this. The island, we're just going to, I've isolated areas that could definitely use more trees in them. But this first box here is basically, well, this may have all changed in the last 3 weeks. When I did this was current pricing, average pricing for a installed home. So this first box is, basically a menu of what we could possibly do. And then if you scroll down, there are my suggestions of what we should do as far as a 1st-year plan, 2nd year, 3rd year, and I may actually change those Florida sables to Texas sables. But those Florida sables, my supplier said he could get a really good deal on those. But like I said, all of this may have changed now that everything.
At the time you did this, I think the 5-year plan would, at the time, when we had all these living palms, but at the time that we did this, this would have doubled the amount of palms that we have around the island in a 5-year period. Is that
Right.
a correct statement?
Correct. And it's based on, the first year was going to be mostly for visual impact. The second one was to plant slower growing palms so that they would have time, to grow. That year 3, go back for some more impact, and year 4, some faster growing palms. We're trying to stagger it because we don't want a whole bunch. You've got a whole bunch of phone poles already out there. We want some different colors and different textures, but we don't want to block the view. So different heights and different varieties. That way, if we do get big storms or big hurricanes and something does wipe out a whole bunch of one variety, you're not all of the trees on the island are dead. You have a good variety.
Any comments?
It would be really interesting to see the menu of palm trees, if there were a visual that we could create or that we could grab that had these and kind of mature heights and canopies.
Well, fortunately for you, you have a little botanical gardens in somebody's house right there on the island. Let's see here.
And I'm just thinking if we roll out a plan that shows us spending $100,000 and putting in however many dozen palm trees along the perimeter of the island over the next 5 years, we probably want to accompany that with here's where they're going and here's what they look like. And,
Right. And we have, I have a file of photographs for you that I can send over. I didn't have it quite prepared for this evening, but I do have the photographs. And if we isolate the areas and I have isolated the areas, but I kind of need to know how much we want to spend each year before I start putting the trees in, I guess. I can I can plot it all out, but I think we just need to possibly meet and get a better idea of if these are, sound numbers, if this is something you all want to do, but I will certainly send the photographs of each one of those varieties over.
Charles, I'm just going to throw out this idea. Just kind of a brainstorming idea. What would you think if we, let's say we determined what we wanted to spend on palm trees, but we had a program for citizens to participate, and maybe, they own a house on the water, and right now there's no palm trees in front of their house, or the palm tree is dead. And we go, listen, we've got this plan. You're in the plan. If you want to be moved up and you want to participate monetarily, like pay for half a palm tree or something like that, then that gets you to the front of the line and you can have new palm trees, in your area in front of the house.
I would see that having real value and I just don't have a sense, but my guess is most of the waterfronts don't align with the residences across the street from them.
Right.
And they may not, but someone that has a piece of property, and likes to go there, and now someone is saying, listen, yeah, here's the program, we are going to plant trees, but if you want palm trees now, we got just a program.
Well, I'm just thinking myself, I have a waterfront that's 100 yards down West Shore from Ivy. So it's a long way from my house, and I have a palm tree. If it's dead, that's too bad. I just don't have a palm tree anymore.
Okay.
Hey, Joe,
Yeah.
there might be people that want to donate, to have a palm tree in their name.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's,
I was
that's
gonna
not a bad.
recommend doing something like a patrons of the park and allow people to pay for a certain tree and then they can get a nameplate put in front of it or something.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea.
Adopt a palm tree.
Well, it just depends on what we're talking about in terms of, there's a pretty good organizational effort that goes behind this. And how many trees altogether are we talking about? I mean, it's, 30,
So like the first year here, you can see
50,
there's 30
80.
trees that would go in.
yeah,
So it's 30 and 20 and 30 and 30.
Yeah.
So
okay.
at 100.
I would like to volunteer to adopt the first palm.
Oh, all right.
And I'll be the second one.
Well, I think when we're talking about 100 trees on what will be planted on people's individual waterfronts, then we probably are going to have a process of kind of socializing this concept and this plan, in addition to deciding if, does $25,000 a year feel like, plus or minus the right number? Probably so. I mean, if that's what it takes to get us where we need to be.
So do we need to have a community meeting about where the people, I know where I think the palm should go, but I don't live there. So I don't know if there's.
The one thing to remember is all the land around the island is parkland.
City property, I think that's a city decision.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
around. owned by
Okay,
the city.
so we
Well,
decide.
it may be technically a city decision, but if you drop a palm tree in the middle of my waterfront, I'm not going to be a happy, if that's not where I want the palm.
So you're right. So that's.
I agree. There's going to have to be participation and buy-in from the community. Wouldn't you agree?
Or it's going to take a whole different framing of how this gets rolled out, because people do have a sense of ownership and of those.
I mean, I agree. I think it's just a matter of working with people, especially if they do have a home and a waterfront, right?
Right.
And you just work with them saying, all right, we're going to plant this palm tree, but we want to be sensitive. We don't want to block your view. And then you work together.
Although I would say we almost have to put a pin in this in a little bit, because we may be talking about, we've just lost $100,000 worth of palm trees.
Those Mexican fan palms are really cheap.
The ones, is that what we have on the island now?
Yes. And they grow fast. But that's why I didn't spec very many of them in, because you already had a bunch of them.
Okay.
So is a Texas sable different than a Mexican sable? I thought they were kind of one and the same. No?
A Texas sable and a Florida sable are similar but different. The Texas sables actually have a longer petiole, but they're both about the same as far as frost tolerance.
Did you not tell me, and tell me if I misheard, that the Mexican sables did well on the island? Is that correct?
The Texas sables.
The Texas sables did well, not Mexican sables?
There are no Mexican sables.
Okay.
But I mean, isn't a sable a fairly low palm? Is that?
They're slow growing. They're the ones that are out in front of the courthouse that look really nice right now. The only ones that look good. Those are the sables.
But it's a low profile.
Right. Well, I mean, they're about 10 to 12 feet tall.
Yeah. But I mean, that's, yeah, but it still gives you a different feeling than the Mexican fans that are high.
Right.
Kind of it's not a South Sea Island palm tree.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here then? I guess.
Honestly, in my opinion, this is fantastic and would be exactly what we need to kind of move forward with had we not just had kind of a mega climate event that we need to ascertain kind of what I mean, we may be spending, we do have $100,000 worth of modules at the entry that may be dead. So it feels like we kind of need to get our arms around that before we can legitimately move forward with this. I may be wrong, but, and maybe there's a parallel path.
Hey, Brent Spear, are you still on?
I am.
I have is the loss of that landscaping FEMA claimable?
I
I mean,
doubt it.
we did have a disaster declaration. Is that something that?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
The disaster declaration of the type B is emergency measures only.
Got it.
And then as far as insurance goes, it definitely precludes any extreme temperature activity. So
okay.
None of it's insured.
Just one quick comment. If it has to be either or between, replacing the modules and this project, which I don't think it would be. I'm sure there's a parallel path, like you said, Charles, but just the logistics of replacing the ones in the entrance are so much easier than, getting the community involved with this and figuring out how we're going to do the leases and people's property, et cetera, et cetera. And, every single person in this community drives through there, multiple times a day for the most part.
I would agree with
I just see
that.
the importance of the.
I mean, I would agree with that. I think our timing is actually kind of good because people are sensitive to the situation now, the way it looks, because the palm trees look so bad. So we might have more of a buy-in from the community at this time if we approach them with something.
When does the EDC's part of this start or stop? I mean, eventually it's going to be a city's responsibility.
Yeah, the EDC is responsible for this plan, and if they want to move forward and roll out, their 5-year plan, but we've already separated into streams the costs for the city and EDC on this. So Susie has done like the evaluation of some palm of the modules up front and done soil testing and all of that. And that's been on the city side because it's considered a maintenance issue. And so the new installation, if it's deemed quality of life and would fall under that EDC purview, that's where it would be. But then continuing maintenance would be a city issue. So if we get to the point where we're, fertilizing a lot and we're using fungicides and we're incorporating those methods to provide some longevity to the palm trees, then that'll be a hard cost for the city to try to incorporate. That's not inexpensive. And Susie, I had a quick question. We're talking about palm replacement. That's going to be in high demand, but wouldn't all the palms that are sitting in these nurseries or on these in the palm farms also experience this similar snap? And so is that going to drive, I would expect it to drive demand high and prices to follow, and it's going to be, you're going to get a lot less tree for your dollar.
I can tell you already, just Home Depot, little flats of Snapdragons, their prices have increased by 15% in the last week and a half. Like a flat of Snapdragons that normally costs $9.99, they've put 2 different price tags on it, and now they're $11.49. And that's just for a tiny little flat of flowers. So, I mean, they're shipping these palms, and semi trucks are coming in right and left. The nurseries are restocking because I think they had big losses. So they're bringing in big old trucks. And I was going to suggest maybe if those palms in the front are dead, maybe we don't go back in with the medullas. Maybe we consider something a little more,
Well, I think
something better for the area.
personally, and now that I've become kind of a semi-palm expert, yeah, the medullas sure look pretty, but they're really high in the sky, and they become problematic for a lot of stuff. We're looking at relocating power. Our streetlights are up there, our banners, and there's just something to be said about a medium-sized palm like I have in front of City Hall that's still green and bushy, and you don't have to look into the sky to get that island feel.
And even a mix of 2 or 3 different varieties would be really nice too. I mean, right there in City Hall, it's a nice variety. And I like the columnar look along the edges, but we could create that with sables, but maybe just do 1 or 2 magnificent medullas in the very, very front entrance, and then line the streets with something else that would still, give you that effect and not break the bank.
Yeah, the only concern I have about the sables, and maybe I may be overthinking it, is just some concern that 10 or 12 foot height with kind of a bushy top begins to obstruct visibility in a way that the columnar medjool or Mexican fan does not. And so that's the only.
Well, we're talking about just the entrance coming in,
entrance,
not along the waterfront.
Got it. Okay.
But that is a good point. But again, that's why we want to do a bunch of different varieties and stagger them. So, we're not blocking anybody's view at the same level.
Well, Joe, maybe there's a way. I think we all need to be a little better educated on the specific palm types, and then look at the map that accompanied this. Okay. And maybe just kind of sit on this a little bit, because I think we can certainly, there's not much going to happen in the next 30 days on this, because I think we are going to be waiting for some evidence of what we're dealing with on our existing palm inventory.
If we want to have some citizen participation in something like that, would that be more like a Parks and Rec thing, or who would kind of spearhead that if we want to?
There is no standing committee or body that.
There's a pools and parks.
But no one that's really set up for soliciting citizen participation. I mean, we just have to create that. We may plug it into parks, but it doesn't exist today.
Okay.
I'd like to make a comment on that.
Go ahead, Mike.
The waterfront leases are all public parks, and the people that lease the leases don't own them. So I think it probably should be up to the city where the trees go, so they're organized and spaced out properly.
That's technically true, but it would get loud cries of BS from the folks who have maintained those and in many cases acquired them at considerable expense. So,
yeah, but that's the risk that they take when they took the lease on.
Their opinion is gonna.
Yeah, I don't think, why fight a battle? Why go fight that battle? Why, in fact, bottom line, why piss off half the community for no good purpose?
Well, that's in their opinion, but also at the same time, we've got palm trees that may end up dying. So what's our replacement plan? And what's
those are 2 different plans, though. Yeah,
I know, but what are the expectations of the city replacing those palms, which could be an integrated type of project?
Yeah. But
right, I agree.
A and B, we have no money right now. So all of those
get a
things.
project. I'm just organize a project and have a kind of a public meeting and have it all laid out and have stations around the room like we've done with other projects, and have people come up and put the sticky notes on there with their comments about each of the renderings and things about it, how it ought to be, and then summarize everything. like we've done in the past for these projects. And that way you get input from the citizens and you can respond. You know, I want oak trees on mine. Well, we don't have oak trees because saltwater kills them. So all that kind of stuff. That would be the way I would do it. It is a kind of a public venue thing, but you need to present what you're going to do and ask for their input, and then make adjustments accordingly or respond accordingly.
So we make a plan and then finalize it around, you know, summertime, if we have to wait anyway and to figure out what's alive and what's not.
Yeah, I would wait. Yeah, I think.
Well, let me just
We
say,
wait till
we need to figure out what our funding mechanism is here. I don't want to present a plan and go through lots of machinations with folks, and I think designing by city committee is an exercise in futility and frustration. But I understand we need input and feedback, but I don't think I think you really have to present a specific plan and then hopefully respond to maybe the highest points of negative energy, but you better have a plan. And then you better say, this is what we're doing and how we're paying for it. Yeah.
Maybe if you ask for monetary participation and they get you know, they get to donate the tree, they get to name the tree, whatever, and they get to help select where the tree goes, especially if it's going in front of in their lot. I mean, that might be an easy way to start getting some trees planted.
I think if it feels like if you came to me and said, here's a city approved plan and a city approved menu of trees, and the city is willing to actually contribute 50% of the cost of those trees if you plant in accordance with this plan, that might be something that would get my attention in a positive way as a leaseholder, I think.
Right. That's kind of where I was thinking.
And that's phase one.
Right.
Phase two could be the city comes back in the following deal and does some more trees.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we also get this in front of the waterfront committee. You know, I mean, the existing leases state today, you know, you make changes to your waterfront, you're supposed to seek approval. Now, we haven't been the best of following those rules, but those rules are all out there.
Okay.
So then it feels like we at least need to kind of maybe move toward a plan that we all understand clearly and endorse, and then get it in a presentation format. Then it's a function of how we present that and what the economic structure is and city participation versus individuals. But we got to have something that we all understand and agree with, that really goes out and people understand, that you don't need a decoder ring.
Right.
Well, I mean, we already have a 5-year plan here in front of us, and it's not just a matter of when it will start economically and you know, after we find out what's alive, and then, you know, after we find that out, that's going to be determining where they're going to be placed. Or you want a totally new plan?
Well, it's just I think you want the participation plan, because I think that would help fund it and get this thing started. Yep. You know, I could definitely see, you know, Mike tonight, and myself, you know, is like, if I knew a palm could go in and the city was going to pitch in 50%, I would definitely be interested in a couple of palms going in front of my house.
Right. But I guess maybe I'm confused because this plan, the palms are scattered around the island. I don't know that, we need to think through I may be really excited about that plan, but then you tell me, well, wait a minute, your lot is your number 3. That's where we're going to put the Pindo palms.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if someone is forking over money, I mean, I think you give them a selection to choose from, right?
Well, are we going to do that, or are we going to try to have the palms, you know, placed throughout the island so it looks like they were meant to be there?
Because otherwise what we're going to end up with is just
A
random palm
hodgepodge.
for the next 4 years until every palm is in.
Well, Susie, do you think there's a way to kind of kill two birds with one stone? Where you could give
Thinking,
someone,
I'm
you know,
thinking.
a small selection? You're
Well,
you're
yeah, I
going-
mean,
you can have A or B, right? This is the master plan.
well, and the other thing I was thinking was like, even though we say that this palm is going to go into this spot right here, you know, maybe give it 10 feet in either direction or whatnot. So, you
Right.
know, if we need to make adjustments to views, in which case, you know, we couldn't have them all equidistantly spaced. Which I don't know if that was a plan or not.
It would be nice. but
Yeah, it would be
again,
nice to have a few like anchor trees that were like, all through, you know, spaced throughout, you know, like along the bridge or in the front, you know, just to have
Right.
some continuity.
Yeah,
you know,
I
just,
agree with you. I think balance, there's something to be said for it, you know?
So if we did the anchor, you know, pick the anchor trees that were equidistantly spaced and then maybe filled in with the other ones and had a little bit more wiggle room with those, at least there would still be, you know, the bones. of the
Maybe that's
design.
maybe that's where it starts is asking for participation from our citizens
Wait.
for the trees.
How about you make a suggestion? Because I don't think it's probably not the EDC that's going to sit there and decide where the trees go. So we need to listen to Susan, and we need to, like you say, if you want to have some sort of participation, you know, I would say roll with it and, you know, make a plan.
So also, is the city not wanting to do this or start funding it purely from the city and not have the EDC involved? Because when would we even have the funds to start doing this?
That's something the city needs to, look into, and then we are looking into that and possible creation of a committee to come back with a plan. Because they're, talking on the behalf of the citizens and bring that to council and see how we want to move forward with this. And if it becomes too difficult, you could always put it on an election year to find out what we want to do from all the citizens. But I think it can be simpler than that, and just putting a small committee together, putting a plan together and then presenting it, and people come talk to it at a public meeting and move forward with that. Now, as far as the shares between the city and EDC, that all needs to be determined.
Well, I like the sound of that, Mayor, because I think, and maybe that's part of the concern here, is it really does need a working committee to kind of do what we've just done for the last 30 minutes and kind of work through some of this conversation and understand it. And we're not going to do that at EDC. And frankly, there's a limit to how much of our energy we want to devote to this over the next year, because it's a great quality of life issue, but it's not moving the needle much in terms of economic development. We don't have those funds immediately available. So I think is there a next step here relative to the plan, Susie, in terms of keying this, or is it, I'm not looking at the map. So is the aerial keyed to where?
Right, well, the next plan would be for me to go through and plot in where the new trees would go.
Yeah. So is that part of what we've already commissioned, or is that something?
To a point, yes.
Yeah, a rough justice. So probably to do that rough justice, that we can then turn that over to a committee, or at least know what we're looking at.
Okay.
Yeah. No, fantastic. Okay. And Kurt, is that a committee that there's some discussion of already forming, or it's just to be formed?
Well, right now we're assessing what, we have with this existing trees out there. Brent's working with Earthworks, and my plan is with the city employees as much as possible. They're the ones that get paid for this work, and then come up with a plan from the city standpoint, and then reach out to the citizens to get their assistance in establishing a relationship with the rest of the residents and figure out how we want to move forward with that and bring that plan back to the council. And of course, to EDC, if there's any funding mechanisms that would help out in the situation.
Right. Excellent. Okay, I think we've got work to do over the next 30 days. So wonderful. Susan, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Very,
Thank you,
very
Susan.
timely information. So
Yes. All right.
you'll be busy. So thank you. Okay, well, with
You're
that,
welcome.
then, there being no further new business, we will adjourn the meeting. Good night,
you.
all. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Good
Take
night.
care.